One of the things that I've been really excited about with the National Lutheran Choir is the concept of expanding the sacred. The National Lutheran Choir mission is that the National Lutheran Choir celebrates, invigorates, and expands sacred choral music, bringing inspiration and meaning to people of diverse faiths and backgrounds. This is one of the things that I dug into pretty deeply in programming and getting ready for this season, but also what I spoke to folks about before I even started the job is what is sacred music and what is not sacred music. And a friend of mine, this is probably about 10 years ago, a composer friend and Minneapolis-based composer, Jake Runestad, and I were talking. I was looking for new literature for a Christmas program. I was teaching at Luther College at the time, and so I'm looking for music that is overtly sacred. And so I said, Jake, I wish you would just compose some music, some more sacred music, so that I could use it in contexts like this. And he says to me, I'm going to push back on that. Who says that a piece that has poetry that, maybe is poetry by E.E. Cummings or, what we would think of as secular poetry, who's to say that that's not sacred? I think I was on the phone, so I probably rolled my eyes a little bit, but it made such an impact on me. Actually, him saying that to me made me go, yeah, why do I not think that this is sacred? So I want to talk just a little bit about sacred music versus what we consider secular. So if you look at the meaning of sacred, and this is just from the holy source of Google, the first thing that it pulls up is a dictionary definition from Oxford that says connected with God or gods, or dedicated to a religious purpose and so deserving veneration. So that's one idea of it. But then from another source, that this is more anecdotal, it says something sacred is holy, devoted to a religious ceremony, or simply worthy of awe and respect. Jerusalem is a sacred place for many religions, just as Fenway is a sacred place for Red Sox fans. And since I'm not a Red Sox fan, that doesn't mean much to me. However, that idea that things can be sacred because they are really special to individuals. For me, it's being in nature. If someone asks me, are you a mountains person or are you a beach person? I would say I am a tree person. I love to be around trees. And for me, when I go out walking in the morning and I'm on a trail surrounded by trees, that is an absolutely sacred space for me. If you've been to Muir Woods before and walked among the redwood trees, that is an absolutely holy place for me. And there's even a segment of that forest that is designated as a quiet spot. People can come and just meditate and be in nature, and that is sacred to them. One of our singers in National Lutheran Choir gave a devotion a couple weeks ago, and he was talking about how once one accepts the existence of God, that God permeates everything. And so our ability to read a poem that's by Emily Dickinson and to be able to meditate on those texts, that's a sacred experience. These concerts coming up where we're going to invite some poetry and music in that some may not think of overtly as sacred because they don't reference God or they don't reference the worship of God. These are also sacred texts. I believe that the idea of focusing on the human experience is also a sacred event. A song that we have in one of our programs is a beautiful song by a really up-and-coming composer, Hans Hereth, and it is called When We Are Old, based on a poem by Yeats. The poem talks about the physical changes that happen when we're old, and when you're looking across sort of, I think, the breakfast table at someone that you've been married to for a long time, and you're looking at them going, you don't look like you did when you were 22. And how do we feel about that? How does that sense of love expand as we get older? How does love survive? And this poem is actually more about unrequited love, which is a very human experience. And so when we put that alongside the words that we may think of as sacred or maybe biblical, how do we see how God responds to those very human questions and human parts of the experience that we have as people? I think that that is a sacred journey that we're embarking upon, to be able to put human and God and that kind of conversation that we have together in our programming. So one of the quotes that started me on the journey of programming for this first concert is a quote by Bonhoeffer. "Every day I am getting to know people, at any rate their circumstances, and sometimes one is able to see through their stories into themselves. And at the same time, one thing continues to impress me. Here I meet the people as they are, far from the masquerade of the Christian world." It really made me think of that idea of who we bring as a mask and the persona that we put on to let people know that everything's all right, or that, you know, I feel like I'm a good and upstanding person. Bonhoeffer says, I sometimes I just want to strip that all away, the masquerade of what is the Christian world. And I think that one of the beautiful things about working in a space that has its roots in sacred music and has been dedicated now for 37 years plus to the singing and the making of sacred music is creating a space where all people feel valued. We, as part of our mission, we want to make sure that people of diverse faiths and backgrounds, and one of the things that implies, but is not explicitly stated, is that they have no background and no faith tradition as well, that all of those people are welcome in this space, and all of those people feel represented when they come to watch a concert. But also, I think it's really important that the singers inside of the choir also feel themselves represented in the music that we are presenting. So I love to have a concert where Bach stands alongside a piece by Rina Ismail, who is an Indian-American composer. And this piece really does not reference God at all, but it references bringing ourselves and coming just as who we are, with all of our courage and with our fear and with our love, come and be a part of this space, no matter who you are or where you're from or what you believe. Alongside of that sits Paul J. Christiansen's Children of the Heavenly Father. And then it moves on to other pieces that just sort of go back and forth to talk about the conversation that I think we need to have when we're talking about sacred music, which is how does that fit into our daily lives as people? And I think that becomes a really authentic experience for people to be able to not feel that the message is one that is imposed on them, but that they can start to see themselves in the story and say, yeah, it's okay for me to have moments of questioning or fear, or moments of just inexplicable worship and joy that I feel in concerts or in sacred spaces, and that those can sit alongside each other. And for me, that's really what it means to expand the sacred. Thank you for joining me for this segment of your virtual subscription. And these will be hitting your inboxes every so often, and encourage you to plug in this way and invite other people to join in this virtual content subscription. Thank you so much, and can't wait to see you next time.